Hello, my name is Tim, and I specialize in teaching math, chemistry, and physics. One of the core things about the maths and the sciences is that it always builds on previous years. So if you have a student who's already struggling in like earlier years, like they're missing the fundamentals, let's say something as basic as like their multiplication's a bit weak or their division's a bit weak or that sort of thing, that only compounds because the concepts just keep adding on to each other. So it's once we start doing algebra, once we start doing derivatives, once we start doing functions and stuff, it's okay. Your multiplication was already weak, your algebra was already weak. So once you start adding things, then if that foundation is not there, then you have a lot of students who are just like barely squeak by. But every year you barely squeak by only sets you further behind, in my opinion. And so I find that there's just a lot of fundamentals that I think that are missing or that are weak that are not addressed until it's like maybe too late. When you have the one-on-one tutoring, especially if you're working with a tutor who understands, number one, the subject, and number two, you as a student, it becomes much more clear why you're struggling. And a tutor can help diagnose that a lot faster than maybe you can diagnose it yourself, and definitely faster than if you're trying to struggle in a class with 100 people, right? You could relate it to any sort of one-on-one practice, right? Like when you go to the doctor, it's not one doctor to 100 people. You're having that one-on-one time with your doctor because your ailments are personal. Similarly, when you're struggling, your struggles are generally quite personal, and therefore your solutions have to be more prescriptive. I find that I get a lot of joy and fulfillment in helping students succeed, number one, in the school system. And number two, more important than that, is just seeing them understand and get an interest in these concepts. You have this very common through point or very common thread for a lot of students that are like, why am I learning the Pythagorean theorem? Why am I learning that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? Because it seems like, oh, these are just facts. I think there's something about once a student understands certain concepts, they become more interested in those concepts and they become more interested in what does this lead to in terms of university, or even in university, what does this lead to in terms of projects I can do, internships I can apply to, that sort of thing. And I think the foundation for that is just this ability to realize, oh, okay, like I didn't understand this concept at first, but after talking to a tutor, after working with Tim, I now understand this. And giving them that ability to learn, ability to encounter obstacles, encounter opposition, and learn their own techniques with my help to figure out how to overcome them, I think is a tool that they'll be using way after I stop being their tutor, right? Way after they graduate. And I think that's something that I really enjoy and be able to impart in students, and especially students that I've had for a long time, seeing the stumbles and the obstacles they initially could not go over, and with my help can now hurdle over them is, I think, very rewarding in its own right.